There is a quiet reason you clicked on this today, and deep down, a part of you already feels it. Something about your presence has been lingering in places you cannot see, almost as if conversations have been unfolding around your name while you continued living your normal days without realizing how much attention your energy has been drawing lately. My beloved child, this is not about fear or suspicion, it is about awareness. It is about understanding that people notice more about you than you think they do, even the parts of you that stay silent. Somewhere behind closed doors, in moments you were never meant to witness, your name became part of a discussion that carried more weight than you could imagine. Stay with this, because there is something important here that your heart has been trying to recognize for a long time. You may have felt strangely reflective recently, almost as if your mind keeps revisiting certain memories without fully explaining why. Little things have started standing out to you. The way someone suddenly became distant, the way certain people observe you quietly before speaking, the way some situations now feel heavier even when nothing obvious has changed on the surface. These feelings are not random. Sometimes life begins shifting internally before it ever reveals itself externally, and sensitive souls often feel those movements first. What makes this difficult is that you are someone who tries to stay genuine. You rarely expect hidden intentions from others because your own heart does not naturally move that way. Yet there are moments when your sincerity becomes the exact reason people cannot stop thinking about you. What happened was not loud or dramatic. It was subtle, almost ordinary at first. A conversation began somewhere, perhaps casually, perhaps unexpectedly, and then your name entered the room. Once it did, the atmosphere changed. Not because you had done something wrong, but because your presence carries an effect that reaches people emotionally, even when you are unaware of it. Some spoke from curiosity. Some spoke from concern. Some spoke while trying to understand why your path seems different from the people around you. And while you continued moving through your days quietly, decisions and opinions were forming in the background about where you belong, how you are seen, and what role you may play in the lives of others moving forward. Don't miss what comes next, because this part matters more deeply than it first appears. The final decision that emerged from that unseen moment was not really about controlling your future. It was about recognizing something that can no longer be ignored. There is a shift happening inside you that people are beginning to notice before you fully notice it yourself. You are not the same person you were even a year ago. The way you think has changed. The way you protect your peace has changed. Even the way you stay silent now carries a different meaning than before. Some people can sense that evolution, and whether they understand it or not, they react to it emotionally. My beloved child, this message is simply reminding you that your growth has already entered rooms your body has never stepped into. And as this realization slowly settles into your spirit, you are about to understand why certain connections around you have started feeling so different lately. Not every turning point announces itself loudly, and sometimes the most life-changing moments begin in complete silence. My beloved child, while you were busy trying to keep your heart steady and your mind focused on ordinary responsibilities, something deeper was unfolding around your name in ways you could never fully trace with logic alone. There are people who have been observing your journey quietly, not because they wish to interfere with it, but because your energy has become impossible to overlook. You may not see yourself as someone significant. In fact, there are days when you question your own progress and wonder whether anything meaningful is truly changing inside your life. Yet the strange truth is that others often recognize transformation in us before we are brave enough to recognize it ourselves. Lately, you may have noticed an unusual emotional distance between yourself and certain environments that once felt familiar. Places that used to comfort you now feel temporary. Conversations that once held your attention now leave you mentally exhausted. Even your reactions have become softer, slower, more thoughtful than before. This is not emotional weakness. It is inner transition. There is a quiet maturity growing inside you, and people around you are beginning to sense that you no longer fit into the same version of life you once accepted without question. Somewhere within that secret conversation, this exact realization surfaced. Your name was spoken alongside words like change, movement, and possibility. Some could not fully explain why they felt drawn to discuss you so seriously, but they could all sense that something about your direction no longer feels ordinary. Stay with this, because the deeper meaning behind it is only beginning to unfold. What made the moment unforgettable was not simply that your name was mentioned. It was the feeling that followed afterward. After the discussion ended, there was still an emotional weight left hanging in the room, almost as if everyone involved understood they had just acknowledged something important without fully knowing how to describe it. One person may have defended you quietly. Another may have admitted they misjudged you in the past. Someone else may have realized that your silence carried far more wisdom than they originally assumed. You see, people often underestimate gentle souls because calmness is mistaken for uncertainty. But over time, consistency reveals character, and your character has begun speaking for itself even when you say very little. There's something important here that many viewers will feel deeply without needing every detail explained directly. The final decision was not a rejection. It was an acceptance that your path is changing in ways that can no longer be ignored by the people connected to you. Some relationships are slowly shifting because your inner world is evolving faster than others expected. You are becoming more aware of what drains you, what inspires you, and what truly aligns with the peace you have been searching for. My beloved child, this message is not asking you to become suspicious of anyone. It is simply reminding you that growth naturally changes the way people respond to your presence. And as you continue stepping quietly into this new chapter of yourself, you may soon realize that the secret meeting was never truly about controlling your story. It was about realizing that your story has already begun changing everyone around you in ways they cannot fully put into words. There are moments in life when everything appears normal on the outside, yet something inside you keeps whispering that a deeper shift is already underway. My beloved child, this is the kind of season you are standing in now. You may still wake up in the same room, speak to the same people, and follow the same routines, but emotionally, something has been rearranging itself within you little by little. Certain thoughts linger longer than they used to. Certain silences feel more meaningful. Even your heart reacts differently to things that once seemed important. What you are feeling is not confusion without purpose. It is the quiet awareness that you are slowly outgrowing an older version of yourself, and whether people say it openly or not, they can feel that change when they are around you. Don't miss what comes next, because this part connects everything together in a way your spirit may already recognize. The secret meeting was not built on coincidence. Your name surfaced because your presence has created emotional ripples in places you never intended to affect. Some people have watched you carry burdens quietly without asking for sympathy. Others have noticed how you continue showing kindness even after disappointment. And there are those who cannot understand why your calmness remains intact despite everything you have internally processed over the years. These observations may seem small individually, but together they form something larger. Your story began creating questions in the minds of others. Questions about resilience, questions about purpose, questions about why your energy feels different now compared to before. Somewhere during that discussion, someone finally spoke what others had silently felt for a long time. You are no longer walking through life with the same spirit you once carried, and everyone around you can sense it. You may not realize how much your silence has changed people. There were moments when others expected reactions from you, expected arguments, explanations, or emotional outbursts, yet instead they found patience and restraint. That stayed in their minds longer than you know. Sometimes the most unforgettable thing about a person is not what they say, but the peace they choose to protect. My beloved child, your growth has not been loud enough for crowds to celebrate it publicly, but it has been deep enough for hearts to notice it privately. And this is why your name continued returning during that unseen conversation. People were trying to understand how someone who once doubted themselves could suddenly carry such quiet emotional strength. Stay with this, because the answer matters not only for them, but for you too. The final decision that came from that moment was simple, yet powerful. They realized you are entering a chapter that cannot be approached the same way anymore. The old expectations people placed on you no longer fit the person you are becoming. Some individuals will grow closer to you because they feel inspired by your peace. Others may naturally drift because your energy no longer matches old patterns. Neither outcome needs to be feared. Growth always reshapes connections. My beloved child, this message is here to remind you that your transformation is real, even if it has happened quietly. The conversations surrounding your name were never truly about judgment. They were about recognition. And as you continue moving forward, you will slowly understand why life has been guiding you toward deeper clarity, softer confidence, and a version of yourself that finally feels emotionally honest. Some truths arrive gently, almost like a feeling that settles into your chest before your mind fully understands it. My beloved child, you have been sensing for a while now that people respond to you differently than they once did. The energy around certain conversations changes when you enter the room. Some people suddenly become more careful with their words. Others seem unusually thoughtful around you, as though they are trying to understand something they cannot easily explain. At first, you may have dismissed these moments as coincidence, but deep inside, another part of you knew there was more happening beneath the surface. The reason your name carried weight in that hidden discussion is because your presence now reflects a kind of emotional depth that many people spend years searching for within themselves. Stay with this, because there is something important here that may finally help certain experiences in your life make sense. You were never meant to remain the version of yourself that constantly questioned your worth. For a long time, you carried invisible pressure inside your heart. You tried to be enough for everyone while quietly neglecting your own emotional needs. You listened more than you spoke, you gave more than you received, and even when you felt misunderstood, you continued moving forward because some part of you believed patience would eventually reveal clarity. What people began recognizing during that secret meeting was not perfection, it was growth. They noticed that you no longer chase approval the way you once did. Your silence feels more intentional now, your boundaries feel calmer, even your energy has become more grounded, and this shift has affected people more deeply than they expected. One of the most powerful things about your journey is that much of it happened privately. No audience saw the nights you sat alone thinking about everything you had outgrown emotionally. No one fully witnessed the moments when you questioned whether your kindness still mattered in a world that often rewards louder personalities. Yet despite all of that, you kept softening instead of hardening. You kept choosing reflection over bitterness. And whether others admit it openly or not, that quiet resilience has changed the way they see you. During the discussion where your name appeared, someone finally understood that your calmness was never weakness. It was emotional wisdom forming slowly through experience. Don't miss what comes next, because this realization opens the door to a much deeper understanding of why your path feels so different now. The final decision was not really about what should happen to you next. It was about acknowledging who you have already become. My beloved child, the truth is that people can sense when someone has entered a new emotional season even before that person fully recognizes it themselves. You are beginning to carry yourself with a quieter confidence, one that does not need constant validation to feel real. And because of this, your presence naturally shifts the atmosphere around you. Some people feel comforted by it, some feel challenged by it, others simply feel curious about the peace you are slowly learning to protect. But all of them recognize one thing now. You are no longer shrinking yourself to fit places you have emotionally outgrown. And as this chapter continues unfolding, you may finally begin seeing yourself through the same understanding that others have already started noticing within you. There is a certain kind of change that happens so quietly that even the person experiencing it does not fully notice until one day everything feels different. My beloved child, you are standing in the middle of that kind of transformation now. The way you think about yourself has been slowly evolving beneath the surface, even during moments when you believed nothing meaningful was happening. You have spent so much time carrying hidden emotions with grace that you forgot how much strength it actually takes to remain gentle in a world that constantly pressures people to become harder. Yet somewhere along this journey, your spirit began learning something important. Peace is not found by proving yourself to everyone. Peace begins the moment you stop abandoning yourself emotionally just to keep others comfortable around you. The reason your name remained unforgettable in that unseen conversation is because people are beginning to recognize the difference between the old version of you and the person you are quietly becoming now. Before, you may have stayed silent because you feared being misunderstood. Now your silence feels intentional, calm, and emotionally aware. Before, you may have searched for reassurance from others whenever uncertainty appeared. Now you are slowly learning to trust your own inner clarity even when answers take time to arrive. These shifts may sound small, but they change the entire way your energy moves through the world. There's something important here that many people overlook. Real growth is rarely loud at first. It often begins as subtle emotional honesty that slowly changes every relationship, every thought pattern, and every decision from within. Somewhere during that secret meeting, one person likely realized something that stayed with them long after the conversation ended. They realized you are no longer driven only by survival or emotional reaction. You are beginning to move with intention. The things that once disturbed your peace so easily no longer carry the same power over your heart. Certain connections that once consumed your thoughts now feel distant, not because you stopped caring, but because you are finally learning the difference between attachment and alignment. My beloved child, this is why life has felt emotionally unfamiliar lately. You are entering a season where your soul desires depth instead of noise, honesty instead of performance, and calmness instead of constant emotional chaos. People around you can feel this shift even if they cannot explain it clearly with words. The final decision reached in that hidden moment was ultimately a recognition of your direction. They understood that you are moving toward a chapter where you will no longer see yourself through the limitations of old fears and old expectations. This does not mean you suddenly have everything figured out. It simply means your heart is becoming more honest about what truly matters to you now, and that honesty changes everything. My beloved child, the conversations surrounding your name were never meant to make you anxious or doubtful. They were a reflection of how deeply your quiet transformation has already begun affecting the world around you. As you continue forward, you will slowly realize that the most powerful thing about your journey was never the secret meeting itself. It was the moment you finally started becoming the person your spirit had been trying to guide you toward all along.